The Book of Splendours, by Eliphas Levi. Chapter 1. The Great Synod and the Assembly of Initiates. Commentary upon the Sifra Zinuta by Simeon ben Jokai. Jerusalem had recently been devastated by the Romans. It was interdicted to the Jews, under penalty of death, to return and lament amidst the ruins of their fatherland. The entire nation had been dispersed, and the sacred traditions forfeited. The authentic Kabbalah had yielded to puerile and superstitious nuances. Those who purported to safeguard the legacy of the occult doctrine were merely sorcerers and soothsayers, rightfully prescribed by the laws of nations. It was at this juncture that a venerable rabbi, Simeon ben Jokai, assembled the final initiates of primordial science, having determined to elucidate for them the volume of high theogony designated the Book of Mystery. Each among them possessed the text by rote, yet only Rabbi Simeon was cognizant of the profound significance of this tome, which had, until that epoch, been transmitted orally, from memory to memory, devoid of explication or the advantage of written transcription. To convene them about him, these represent the words he dispatched. Wherefore, in these days of immense tribulation, ought we to remain as an edifice sustained by a solitary column, or as a man balanced upon a single foot? It is time to act on behalf of the Lord, for mankind has forfeited the true import of the law. Our days diminish, the Master summons, the harvest has been forsaken, and the reapers have wandered far from the matured vine. Assemble in this very countryside where so much has recently remained unaccomplished. Approach as if for battle, accoutred with wisdom, counsel, intelligence, erudition, and attentiveness. Let your feet be as unencumbered as your hands. Recognize as your sole master he who holds dominion over life and death, and together we shall articulate the words of truth to which the saints of heaven are accustomed to listening, and they shall descend among us to attend to our speech. Upon the designated day, the rabbis convened in the fields, within a circular enclosure circumscribed by a lofty wall. They arrived in silence. Rabbi Simeon seated himself in their midst, and beholding them collectively, he wept. "I am undone," he exclaimed, "if I reveal the great mysteries. I am undone should I leave them unexplicated." The rabbis remained mute. Finally, one among them, named Rabbi Abba, spoke, stating, "With the Master's permission, is it not written, 'The secrets of the Lord belong to those who fear him'? And do not all of us present here fear the Lord? And are we not already privy to the secrets of the temple?" Now, these are the appellations of those who were present: Rabbi Eliezer, son of Rabbi Simeon, Rabbi Abba, Rabbi Jehuda, Rabbi Joseph, son of Jacob, Rabbi Isaac, Rabbi Thizkiah, son of Raph, Rabbi Joseph, and Rabbi Jessa, all, pledging themselves to secrecy, placed their hand within that of Rabbi Simeon and, with him, gestured toward the heavens. Subsequently, they assumed their seats within the circumscribed area, where they were effectively concealed by immense trees. Rabbi Simeon arose and prayed. Then he resumed his seat and addressed them. "Approach, all of you, and place your right hand upon my breast." They complied, and he, clasping all these hands within his own, spoke solemnly. "Accursed be he who fashions for himself an idol and conceals it. Woe unto him who shrouds falsehood with the veils of mystery." The 8 rabbis responded, "Amen." Rabbi Simeon continued, "There is but one true God, before whom no other deities exist, and there is but one true people, the corpus of those who worship the one true God." Then he summoned his son Eleazar and bade him seat himself before him. Near him he positioned Rabbi Abba and stated, "We now constitute a triangle, the primordial figure of all existence. We represent the portal of the temple and its two columns." Rabbi Simeon then abstained from speech, and his disciples did likewise. An obscure murmur became audible, resembling that of a vast assembly. It was the spirits of heaven who had descended to listen. The disciples trembled, yet Rabbi Simeon said to them, "Fear nothing and rejoice, for it is written, 'Lord, I have heard the sound of your presence and I trembled.' Formerly, God ruled over man through terror, but now his reign is that of love. Has it not been declared, 'You shall love your God'? And did he not himself articulate, 'I have loved you'?" Then he added, "The secret doctrine is intended for reflective souls. The troubled and restless spirit cannot comprehend it. Can one place confidence in a nail affixed to a shifting wall, poised as it is to crumble at the slightest impact? The entire world is founded upon mystery, and if discretion is requisite in mundane affairs, how much greater ought to be our reserve when addressing the mysterious dogmas which God does not reveal even to the highest of his angels. Heaven inclines to listen to us, yet my words must remain veiled. The earth shifts in order to hear, but that which I articulate shall be in symbols. We are, at this precise instant, the gate and the columns of the universe." At last Rabbi Simeon spoke, and tradition preserved within the mystery of mysteries assures us that when he opened his mouth, the earth quaked beneath his feet and that his disciples perceived its trembling. He spoke first of the monarchs who reigned over Edom prior to the advent of the King of Israel, symbols of the unbalanced powers which manifested at the genesis of the universe, before the triumph of harmony. God, he stated, when he desired to create, cast a veil over his radiance, and within its folds he projected his shadow. From this shadow arose giants who declared, "We are kings," yet they were nothing more than phantoms. They appeared because God had concealed himself by generating night within chaos. They vanished when there was brought forth in the east that luminous head, that glowing countenance which humanity bestows upon itself by proclaiming the existence of God, the Son, governor of our aspirations and our thoughts. The gods are mirages composed of shadow, and God is the synthesis of splendors. Usurpers fall away when the monarch ascends his throne, and when God appears, the gods are banished. Thus, when God had permitted the night to exist so that the stars might appear, he turned toward the shadow he had engaged and contemplated it, to endow it with a countenance. He formed an image upon the veil with which he had shrouded his glory, and this image smiled at him, and he regarded this image as his own, that he might create man in accordance with it. In a manner of speaking, he tested this prison reserved for created spirits. He gazed at this face that was to become one day the visage of man, and his heart was moved, for already he seemed to perceive the lamentations of his creations. "You who wish to subject me to the law," it seemed to say, "provide me proof that this law is just by subjecting yourself to it as well." And thus God became man so that he might be loved and understood by men. Now, of him we know only this image, formed upon the veil which conceals his splendor. This image is our own, and he desires that we recognize it to be also his. Thus we know him without knowing him. He reveals to us a form yet possesses none. We have attributed to him the image of an elder, he who possesses no age. He is seated upon a throne from which eternally escape sparks of light by the millions, and he commands them to become worlds. His hair radiates and agitates the stars. Universes revolve about his head, and suns immerse themselves in his light. The divine image is twofold. There exist the heads of light and of shadow, the white ideal and the black ideal, the superior head and the inferior. One is the dream of the man-god. The other is the invention of the God-man. One represents the God of the wise, and the other the idol of the lowly. All light, in truth, implies shadow and possesses its brilliance only in opposition to that shadow. The luminous head pours out upon the dark one a constant dew of splendor. Admit me, my beloved, says God to intelligence, for my head is filled with dew, and among the curls of my hair wander the tears of night. This dew is the manna by which the souls of the just are nourished. The elect hunger for it and harvest it abundantly in the fields of heaven. These drops constitute spherical pearls, possessing the brilliance of diamonds and the pellucid quality of crystal. They are white and radiate every hue, for there exists but a single unadorned truth, the splendor inherent in all things. The divine simulacrum possesses 13 rays, for positioned upon each flank of the triangle wherein we encapsulate it, and one situated at its zenith. Delineate it across the firmament with your intellect, tracing its lineaments from star to star, and it shall encompass 360 multitudes of worlds. For the Supreme Ancient One, designated the Macroprosopoeia or the Great Creative Hypothesis, is likewise termed Erichanfin, the Immense Countenance. The other, the anthropomorphic deity, the visage of shadow, the Microprosopoeia, that limiting hypothesis, is named Saranfin, or the Contracted Countenance. When this countenance gazes upon the face of light, it expands and achieves harmonious proportion. Order is thereby restored. Yet this state cannot endure, for the cogitations of mankind are as mutable as man himself. Nevertheless, there perpetually exists a luminous filament connecting shadow to light. This thread traverses the innumerable conceptions of human intellect ion, binding them all to the divine splendor. The head of light transmits its whiteness to all reasoning intellects or entities, provided they pursue the path of law and reason. The head of the Supreme Ancient One is a sealed receptacle, wherein infinite wisdom reposes like a vintage wine whose lees remain undisturbed. This wisdom is inscrutable, possessing itself in silence within eternity, impervious to the vicissitudes of time. It constitutes the light, yet it is the dark head that serves as the lamp. The oil of intelligence is dispensed, and its brilliance is made manifest through 32 paths. God revealed is God concealed. This human shadow of the divine resembles the mysterious Eden, from which issued a spring that divided itself into 4 rivers. Nothing emanates directly from God himself. His substance is without egress. Nothing departs from him, nor does anything enter therein, for he is impenetrable and immutable. All that commences, all that manifests, all that is sundered, and all that flows and transpires, does so within his shadow. He exists unto himself, immovable within his light, remaining thus like an ancient wine laid to rest. Do not seek to fathom the thoughts of the mysterious head. Its intimate ruminations are concealed, but its exterior, creative thoughts radiate forth like a cascading mane of hair. It is white hair devoid of shadow, the strands of which are never entangled. Each strand constitutes a filament of light connected to millions of worlds. The hairs are parted at the forehead and descend on either flank, yet each side is the right side. For within the divine image that constitutes this head of light, the left side holds no distinct position. The left side of the head of light is the dark head, for in traditional symbolism, the lower reaches are the equivalent of the left. Now, between the heights and the depths of the Imago Dei, there must exist no greater antagonism than that between the left hand and the right hand of man, since harmony results from the analogy of opposites. Israel, whilst in the desert, grew disheartened and inquired, "Is God with us or against us?" Thus they spoke of him whom one knows and of him who is unknown. Thus they severed the white head from the dark head. The god of shadow subsequently became an exterminating phantom. They were chastised because they had harbored doubt through a deficiency of confidence and love. One does not comprehend God, but rather one loves him, and it is love that engenders faith. God conceals himself from the human intellect, yet reveals himself to the heart. When man declares, "I do not believe in God," it is as though he were to say, "I do not love." And the voice of shadow replies, "You shall perish because your heart renounces life." The microprosopoeia represents the great night of faith, and it is within faith that the just live and respire. They extend their hands to grasp the hair of the Father, and from these resplendent strands fall drops of light which arrive to illuminate their obscurity. Between the two sides of these parted strands lies the pathway of initiation, the middle path, the trajectory of opposites in harmony. Therein all is reconciled and comprehended. Therein only good triumphs and evil exists no longer. This pathway is that of supreme equilibrium and is designated the last judgment of God. The hairs of the white head extend in perfect order on all sides, yet they do not obscure the ears. For the ears of the Lord are perpetually open to prayer, and nothing can preclude them from hearing the orphan's cry or the lamentation of the oppressed. Chapter 2. The colloquy on divine attributes and equilibrium. Upon the forehead of the supreme head resides the majesty of majesties, the quintessence of all benevolence, the veritable ecstasy of all true delights. This constitutes love, the potency of which is engendered and partaken of by all who love. The will of humanity, symbolized by the forehead of the microprosopoeia, must accord with this love. The forehead of collective man is designated reason. It is frequently shrouded in shadow, yet when it manifests, God hearkens to the supplications of Israel. At what juncture, therefore, does it reveal itself? Rabbi Simeon paused for an instant, then reiterated his inquiry. Indeed, when, and turning toward Rabbi Eliezer, his son, he repeated, "When does it manifest?" "At the hour of communal orison on the Lord's Day," responded Rabbi Eliezer. "In what manner?" inquired the master. "Men, when they pray, prostrate themselves before a God whom they conceive as wrathful. The forehead of the head of shadow is then obscured by clouds, and it appears that thunder and lightning must emanate from them. Yet the shadows disperse, pierced by a ray from the supreme countenance. Eternal serenity impresses its image upon them, and even the obscure face becomes luminous. When the just pray, they address divine benevolence, and this sentiment of goodness dispels from them all shadows of trepidation. Serenity upon the face of man is the radiating effulgence of the divine countenance. When anger is quelled within the heart of man, he contemplates God's forgiveness. Yet it is man alone who grants pardon, for God is never provoked to wrath. Adam is expelled from the earthly paradise by the ire and malevolence of the head of shadow, but the face of light smiles upon him ceaselessly from its celestial paradise. Eden, divided by 4 rivers, constitutes a mystery of the head of shadow. Obscure symbols arise from obscure thought. The dogmatic God is the progenitor of mysterious allegories. The higher Eden possesses neither divisions nor exclusions. There are no poisoned apples in the garden of the supreme God. However, only the Father knows this Eden. He alone comprehends his love, which is pitiless for all eternity, for he is without infirmity and without wrath. Let us continue mentally to delineate the hieroglyphic head which symbolizes the Father. What eyes shall we attribute to him? Eyes distinct from mortal eyes, eyes devoid of lids and lashes. For God never sleeps. His eyes are never closed. Is it not written, "The guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps"? It is also written, "The eyes of the Lord gaze without ceasing throughout the expanse of the universe." And yet it is stated, "The gaze of the Lord rests upon those who fear him. The eye of Adonai is fixed upon Israel." Is this a contradiction? In truth, it is not. For the Lord who surveys the entire universe is the God of light. He who perceives and prefers a single people is the God of shadow. The preference accorded to Israel would be an injustice, and hence a falsehood, were God not to regard the entirety of the universe with equal scrutiny. The eye of privilege would perceive imperfectly were it not sustained and rectified by the eye of justice. It is for this reason that we ascribe 2 eyes to the supreme head. Yet these 2 eyes are the 2 foci of an ellipse, and this ellipse of 2 eyes constitutes but a single eye in totality. This single eye possesses 3 rays and 3 halos. These halos are crowns which constitute the triple kingdom of all things visible to God. There are 2 eyes, but should one wish to differentiate between them, they merge into one. This is the right eye of the single face composed of light and shadow, for the 2 faces are in fact one, just as the 2 eyes are one eye. The left eye, this is the microprosopia, and it bears eyebrows which frown and eyelids which close. This one slumbers often, for it is fashioned in the image of man, and it is this one we address when we exclaim, "Lord, awake, and direct your eye upon us." Woe to the man who perceives the eye of God as red, inflamed with anger. He who believes in a wrathful God, where shall he seek his pardon? The Ancient of Days is all goodness, and the beam of his eye is ever the whitest and purest of lights. Happy is the lot of the just and wise man who regards all things with this same purity and whiteness. It is written, "Come, family of Jacob, and walk in the light of Adonai." The name of the Supreme Master remains, however, shrouded in mystery. Nowhere in the law is it explicated, save in this passage wherein God declares to Abraham, "I swear by my own self that through you shall Israel be blessed." Who can so bind himself by an oath, if not the human God? And what is Israel in the divine order, if not the divine faith of Israel? And if God speaks through the mouth of the prophet, "Israel, you shall be my glory," is this not the God of shadow who desires to glorify himself in the splendor of Israel's God of light? To assign him a name, we designate him the Ancient of Days. As it is stated in the prophecy of Daniel, I have seen thrones overturned and the Ancient of Days take his seat. Arise, Rabbi Jehuda, and elucidate for us the nature of these thrones which are overturned. It is written, said Rabbi Jehuda, his throne is the seat of life-giving fire. God sits upon the throne, and the fire bestows life instead of devouring and destroying. If God departs from the throne, the fire is extinguished. Otherwise, entire worlds might be consumed. Where God is seated, there is equilibrium. When his power establishes a center for itself, it creates a new universe, and all others displace themselves to revolve around it. For God moves in order to seat himself, and he seats himself in order to move. And Rabbi Simeon said unto Rabbi Jehuda, May God direct you in the eternal ways, and may he remain within your thoughts. Come and behold. It is written, I am before all things myself. In the beginning I am, and at the conclusion of all I am myself holy. Everything is he, for everything reveals him. He conceals himself within all that exists. His breath animates all that breathes, and it is for this reason that, among the mysteries of his allegorical countenance, we shall now discourse upon the symbolism of the nose. It is the nose, above all, upon which the character of a face depends. Now, the head of light and the head of shadow possess quite distinct characters. The nose of the supreme head breathes life toward the lower head. From one nostril issues personal life, from the other collective life. Yet the unique spirit of this double breath is appeasement and pardon. It is this breath which, in the era of the Messiah, is destined to calm all storms and assuage all angers. The spirit of wisdom and intelligence, the spirit of counsel and strength, the spirit of knowledge and awe of the Lord. Are these distinct spirits? We have stated that the breath of the Father is singular. Arise, Rabbi Joseph. Rabbi Joseph arose and from his place declared, In the days of the Messiah, wisdom shall no longer be concealed, for understanding shall flourish. The breath of the Father, the Spirit of God, shall arrive with the 6 spirits that are in actuality one, like the 6 steps of Solomon's single throne. Thus are elucidated the 7 spirits of the throne spoken of by the ancient prophets. These are the 7 hues of light, the 7 notes of music, and the 7 respirations which form the one breath of spirit. May yours, said Rabbi Simeon, rest in peace in the world to come. Come now and behold. When the prophet Ezekiel invokes spirit to restore the dead to life, he summons the 4 breaths which constitute the spirit of life. What are these 4 vivifying breaths? That of God toward man, that of man toward God, that which results from their commingling, and lastly, the immense and eternal breath of God which encircles all worlds and returns to the mouth of the Father. These 4 breaths are in reality one, the spirit of life. Thus the prophet, turning to face the 4 cardinal points, summons only a single spirit. Is it not said that in the time of the Messiah's reign, when the spirit of understanding and knowledge shall be infused into all flesh, each human soul, without need of instruction, shall ascertain the truth? For at that time, when the veils of falsehood shall be forever torn asunder, souls will no longer be separated by error in all its manifold forms. Rather, they shall exist one through the other, gazing unimpeded into the depths of their counterparts. Each shall emanate and receive the illumination of the collective via a species of universal respiration, an inhalation and exhalation. Consequently, in all matters, the spirit of life is constituted of 4 breaths. A season of universal resurrection shall arrive for the life of the intelligence. For these 4 spirits unified in one are typified by the square encompassing the triangle. Thus, within the symbolism of numerology, the arcanum of the 7 spirits is elucidated. The nose of the white-haired Ancient One, the nose of the Supreme Head, respires creations that are perpetually novel. Conversely, that of the head of shadow breathes forth destruction and devouring fire. The obscure head inhales life and exhales mortality. The white head absorbs death and breathes forth vitality. Who possesses the faculty to conceive of these singular and prodigious countenances? Who has ever beheld them, and who shall ever comprehend them? The kings of kings, namely, the masters of science and wisdom, alone are capable of discerning where and for what cause the imagination delineates their contours, and how it may be that, simultaneously, they exist and yet do not exist. The mysteries of the white beard. Rabbi Simeon had paused for an instant. He resumed from the point of his cessation, declaring, "Woe betide him who extends profane hands toward the majestic beard of the Father of Fathers. For this beard is glorious beyond all laudation, a mystery which encompasses all mysteries. None has beheld it, none may touch it. The beard constitutes the adornment of adornments, the majesty of majesties. This beard establishes the nexus between the ears and the mouth. It radiates from the lips like the word which bestows illumination and vitality upon the soul. It is on this account that we regard it as a symbol of the word. Comprises all mysteries and instructs in all verities. It is as white as snow, yet casts a shadow more obscure than night. It is partitioned into 13 segments upon which the most precious of perfumes are effused. The 2 portions descending from the nose to the commissures of the mouth, separated by a scant interval of flesh, the 2 portions connecting the beard to the inception of the ears, and the beard proper divided into 3 sections, each subsequently subdivided into 3. This beard is perfect, inasmuch as we perceive it to be the Word, which is in itself perfection. It is absolute beauty, absolute equilibrium, absolute rectitude. The cheeks shine forth from on high, like unto 2 scarlet apples, projecting the light of life onto the somber microprosopia. White and red combined constitute the hue of the mysterious rose, the whiteness of milk and the redness of blood, the pallor of light and the crimson of fire. All within nature that is white and red derives from this supreme rose. The 13 divisions of the white beard represent the synthesis of all verities, and the individual who comprehends this allegorical beard is a man replete with truth. Do we not remark proverbially of a wise and robust man, of a man who lowers his gaze reflectively before undertaking an enterprise, that this is a man who considers his beard? And those who elevate a hand to swear an oath upon the beard of the Ancient One, these swear upon truth itself, symbolized by the 13 sections of the supreme beard. 4. The 4 characters of the holy name, the 4 elements, the 4 angles of a square, the 4 cardinal points of the heavens. And 9, that is, 3 multiplied by 3, the active, the passive, and the equilibrium they engender as they reproduce themselves. Mystery of the black beard. Does the beard of the microprosopia possess such a system and orderly disposition? Arise, Rabbi Isaac, and discourse unto us regarding the components of the black beard. Rabbi Isaac arose and commenced. Hearken to these 13 pronouncements of the prophet Micah. Is there any who can be likened unto you, Lord? You remove injustice and cause it to vanish. You pass over, treading upon transgression. For it is your ultimate desire that your people be redeemed. You will not retain your anger forever, for your will is for forgiveness. Mercy shall return unto us. Our iniquities shall be vanquished. Even the final memory of our faults shall be interred in the profoundest depths of the sea. To the house of Jacob shall be granted the heritage of truth, and to the house of Abraham eternal mercy. We place our trust in the oath which you swore unto our fathers. We believe in the promise made in days of antiquity. These, continued Rabbi Isaac, are 13 drops of precious balm, fallen from the 13 divisions of the supreme beard, which introduce order into the chaos of the lower beard. The dark beard is composed of coarse, intractable hairs, entangled one with another. Yet, the 13 drops of the balm of mercy compel them to conform to the harmonious disposition of the superior beard. For the white beard causes its long, supple, silken strands to descend into the black, and its rivers of benignity ameliorate the coarseness of this dark fleece. Thick, contorted hairs are frequently the insignia of intellectual servitude. And if one regards the hair as an extension of the cerebrum, a tranquil, lucid thought must be represented by a head of hair that is uniform, supple, and soft. Now, the mouth is analogous to, yet distinct from, the hair. The hair commences its growth behind the ears, and adjacent to the ears begins the beard, which radiates outward from the mouth. The black beard is the shadow of the white, just as the law is the shadow of liberty, and as a menace is the shadow of forgiveness and love. Now, we have posited that light and shadow are requisite for the manifestation of day, and that all illumination is perceived as a commixture of light and shade. Thus may we assert that, within divine revelation, absolute shadow does not exist. All is light. The light which radiates is the white light, and the light which enshrouds itself in shadow is the black light. The law is inscribed upon a white page with black coals, retrieved from the altar with tongs by the seraphim. This constitutes the great expanse of light, bearing characters of fire. It is for this reason that we depict divine thought, the spirit of the Scriptures, by a soft white beard, in contradistinction to the other, which is both tangled and coarse. For the one is an image of the Spirit, the other the letter of the law. The same applies to the heads of hair. That of the God of light is as white as snow, its strands even and undulating. That of the God of shadow is as black as a raven's wing, and its locks are twisted and snarled. But the white beard impregnates the black beard with its perfumes, and the hair of the head of light permeates the hair of shadows with its splendor, such that the 2 heads of hair and the 2 beards belong to a sole, identical head, which is the symbolic and allegorical image of God. Chapter 3. The symbolism of the Supreme Word and the white beard. The initial segment of this mysterious beard is that which commences in proximity to the right ear, descending to the commissure of the mouth. The beard derives its origin from the virile ardor of the blood. Thus, we may designate it the daughter of the heart of man. However, inasmuch as it continues the hair, itself a radiation of the brain, we may also term it the daughter of thought. The filaments are tender and soft, having attained no considerable length. This represents the Word in divine generation. There exist 31 diminutive curls, arranged in impeccable order, and each curl comprises 390 hairs. These figures represent worlds of intellect which God desires to bring into existence through the agency of the Word. Each world is destined to engender other worlds, multiplied by the mysterious figure 2 and the holy figure 3. From tens to hundreds, from hundreds to myriads, worlds are multiplied by reason of creative ideas, in exact proportion to the germinal origins already established. Each filament of the nascent beard terminates in a point of light, and each point of light labors to produce a sun. For every sun, there comes into being a night which this new star shall enliven. A night replete with phantoms and horrors that the nascent sun illumines and dissipates with a smile. It is in this manner that the glowing beard of the Father streams outward toward the rough, obsidian beard of the God of darkness. Furthermore, one cannot perceive the supreme beard save for the brilliance it imparts to the beard of shadow. Is it not stated in the book of Psalms? The perfume of the supreme head is poured out upon the beard of the Father, and thence upon the beard of Aaron? What signifies Aaron? He represents the high priest. And what is the high priest, if not the shadow and human personification of the dark God? The psalm we have cited commences by asserting that the perfection of good and the triumph of happiness reside in the dwelling together of brothers. Who are these brothers if not the two ancient ones? For us, God requires a high priest, yet this high priest would become the night of death were he to be severed from God. The deity bestows his light upon the priest, and the priest lends his shadow to the deity. The priest is the brother of God, just as shadow is the sister of light. That which the priest enacts on earth in the exercise of his ministry, God performs in heaven, with a distinction as that of right to left, of day to night, of reproachful anger to peace-bestowing mercy. Thus, religious harmony results from the analogy of opposites. May supreme harmony shine down upon you, spake Rabbi Simeon to Rabbi Isaac. May the glowing beard be the sign of your eternal strength. May we together behold the face of the Ancient of Days, and may the peace and joy of righteous souls be your lot and mine in the world to come. Part 2. Stand, Rabbi Chiskija, and from your station, recount to us the glories of one portion of the holy beard. Rabbi Chiskija arose and spake. It is written, I am my beloved's, and his benevolence is turned toward me. It is for man, for each among us, that the supreme thought becomes the Word, the creator of all thoughts and all substance. I perceive a river of light descending from divine understanding and transmuting into 335 harmonious voices. Within this light, night approaches to bathe, cleansing itself of shadow. I beheld shadowy forms plunge deep into the white waves, emerging as white as the waves themselves. I beseeched the higher intelligences to elucidate what I had witnessed, and I was answered, you perceive the manner in which injustice is effaced by God. For between his ear and his mouth, between his understanding and his word, there exists no locus for falsehood. In the living light, in the light which permeates everywhere, shadow cannot exist, and should it desire to do so, it must necessarily assume a whiteness, transforming itself into light. Now, it is thus that God shall one day transmute man's iniquity into good. This is what I am inspired to articulate regarding the second part of the holy beard, analogous and parallel to the first. Rabbi Chiskija, having thus spoken, resumed his seat. Rabbi Simeon then declared, the world is no longer for us an enigma nor a hell. Be blessed, O Rabbi Chiskija, by the Supreme Old One, for you have consoled our hearts. All rays converge toward their center. I perceive the harmonious totality of the Creator's work. From the heights we occupy, we can already discern the Holy Land in the impending flowering of its destiny. We can perceive that which Moses himself was denied when he ascended a second time unto Mount Sinai, the sun of justice in which we believe, the sun which is to come illuminating our faces. I feel my own glowing with faith and hope, and, more fortunate than Moses, I comprehend why it is so. Moses was unaware that his countenance had grown luminous through the contemplation of God. I behold before my eyes this allegorical beard, as if it had been sculpted by a capable hand into 13 parts, representing the totality of truth. As you explicate them, I see all these parts arranging themselves in orderly fashion, firmly attached to the ideal head which supports the mysterious crown. The king appears to me, then, as if from a midpoint in his uncountable years. Effects coalesce with causes. Causes are united, set forth by principles, and the principle of principles reigns with sovereign dominion from its center, which is everywhere. Rejoice, my companions, in this holy revelation, for the world surely shall not comprehend what we have been granted to understand, nor perceive what we can now witness, prior to the Messiah's reign. The other parts. Thus, one by one, the great rabbis analyzed the holy beard. An explanation must now be provided directly, summarizing, as it were, the vague subtlety and prolixity of their exact verbiage. The hair, radiating outward from the skull, constitutes for these great priests an image of divine thought. Likewise is the beard, radiating outward from the mouth, a symbol of the holy word. The hair is the word of God in its own awareness of itself. The beard is the word made manifest in works or in inspired writings. This beard is partitioned into 13 segments because the secret theology of the Kabbalists is inextricably bound to the 9 ciphers which constitute all numbers and to the 4 letters which compose the name of Jehovah. The science of numbers, regarded as the algebra of ideas, is the Bereshith. The science of the letters of the sacred name is the Merkava. Bereshith or Bereshith signifies Genesis, generation, or genealogy. Merkava signifies chariot, as if the 4 symbolic letters were the wheels of God's chariot which Ezekiel beheld in a vision. These were wheels of light, revolving one within another, celestial spheres, intersecting circles whose centers are everywhere, whose circumferences are everywhere, whose common center is everywhere, and whose final, definitive circumference is nowhere. However, the name of Jehovah possesses in reality only 3 letters, since the 4th is a repetition of the second, Yod, He, Vav, He. Thus, the 13 sections of the supreme beard are the equivalent of the cycle of 12, plus the center which must be assigned to these numbers in order to arrange them in a circle upon the clock of time. These theological subtleties linked to numerical abstractions formed, so to speak, the scholastic system of the ancient rabbis, fathers of Kabbalistic philosophy. The result of this method was deductions which, often sublime, sometimes puerile, were nevertheless exact. God, said Solomon, created everything with weight, measure, and number. It was the natural conclusion in the thought of certain naive thinkers that algebra was the sacred fire of Prometheus and that men could be created by pronouncing words. This is occasionally true, as great orators know so well, but only in a metaphorical, figurative sense. Doubtless, matter obeys the movement resulting from forces which can be determined by numbers. Within Hebraic tradition, Numbers are symbolized by the characters of the alphabet. Consequently, it was through the instrumentality of these letters that the divine fashioned both space and the worlds. The letter is, indeed, the conventional emblem of power, yet it remains a mere sign, not power itself. Analogously, within the text of the Sohar currently under our scrutiny, the distinguished rabbis convened around Rabbi Simeon anchor their theological conceptions of divinity to the allegorical figure of a human head. Herein, the eyes and ears signify understanding, the hair denotes thought, and the beard epitomizes the word, or, more precisely, the expression and manifestation of truth. They have frequently reiterated that this head possesses no existence within visible or tangible reality, that the deity is inaccessible to our senses and even to our intellect, and that we may comprehend him solely through his operations upon us and his relation to us. Notwithstanding these assertions, a multitude of superstitious individuals has not been deterred from ascribing a human visage to God, a phenomenon occurring not merely in antiquity but in recent epochs as well. Swedenborg, for instance, that otherwise astonishing and admirable mystic, asserts that the universe is, in reality, an immense man possessing hair of light and limbs of stars, veritably fashioned in the image of God, who is himself a man of such magnitude and brilliance that he remains imperceptible to the human eye. The Mormons, in our present era, maintain the conviction that the universe is finite and that the deity, assuming the form of a gigantic man, occupies the center, seated upon a colossal Urim Thummim. Specifically, two magnificent precious stones possessing innumerable facets wherein all that transpires within the existing worlds is reflected. Such a conception is scarcely more sophisticated than that of the Scandinavians, wherein Odin is enthroned beneath an oak, along the branches of which a squirrel perpetually scampers, descending to whisper into his ear all occurrences throughout the universe. Let us, however, pass over the minutiae regarding the 13 sections of the allegorical beard, lest we fatigue our readers, restricting our examination solely to the conclusions that Rabbi Simeon derives from them. Chapter 4. Conclusion on the allegory of the Macroprosopoeia. Thereupon, Rabbi Simeon addressed his associates. Your utterances resemble intricate embroidery upon the great veil, a covering that permits us, without suffering the dazzlement or blindness of overwhelmed senses, to raise our gaze toward the eternal luminescence. I perceived this labor reaching completion even as you discoursed. Your very cogitations defined the image, and said image manifested of its own accord to assume its station within this miraculous tapestry. It was in this precise manner that, in antiquity, Moses commissioned the embroidery of the Holy Tabernacle's veil, suspending it from 4 pillars by means of golden rings. Similarly, the sacrificial altar possessed 4 corners, analogous to the square that may be inscribed within every celestial circle. Furthermore, situated in the center of the altar was a hooked implement employed to agitate the sacrificial flame, for that conflagration could not be profaned by human touch. Our allegories function as this implement, enabling us to make contact with the incandescent truth. We advance, utilizing a disciplined imagination, by virtue of the law of analogies and the precision of numerology. That which we have ascertained serves as the foundation for that which we believe. The visible order we perceive demands the existence of the order we posit in the heights that transcend our comprehension. Consequently, nothing within our imagery is abandoned to happenstance. Rather, all is established within a harmonious and justifiable arrangement. You speak, and the tableau assumes form. Your voice dictates the manifestations that emerge, and they align themselves in total magnificence, akin to the adornments of a royal diadem. The very pillars of the temple are stirred. They appear revivified, rising from the earth to hearken unto you. The celestial hosts encompass you, and their admirable discipline vindicates your discourse. Oh, rejoice in the world to come, for the utterings that issue from your lips are predestined by truth and justice, pursuing the path of righteousness without deviation, wandering neither to the right nor to the left. The most holy God, whom you bless, delights to hear them, and he attends to them so that they may be brought to fruition. For in the impending realm, all virtuous words articulated in the present sphere shall assume living forms, and you are entities of benevolence, you who manifest through the word that which is true. Truth is an exquisite vintage that never dissipates. It descends, drop by drop, from the chalice of the wise, extending even beyond the sepulchre to moisten the lips of the deceased. It permeates even to the hearts of our slumbering patriarchs, compelling them to speak once more, as if in a reverie. For truth is perpetually vital. It forsakes no one once it has graced him. And when the progeny upon the earth bear living witness to it, the forefathers who repose beneath the earth begin to smile, responding softly, Amen. Chapter 5. The Microprosopoeia and the Veil of Shadow. We are cognizant of nothing within the ancient tomes that rivals the magnitude of this grand assembly of initiates, occupying themselves, in truth and reason, with the fabrication of a hieroglyphic representation of the deity. They comprehend that any form, to be rendered perceptible to the eye, requires illumination and must, by necessity, cast a shadow. Yet, is the shadow capable of representing supreme intelligence? Assuredly, it is not. It serves only to betoken its veil. The Isis of antiquity was veiled. Moses, when discoursing upon the divine, shrouded his countenance with a veil. All ancient theology is shrouded in allegories of varying transparency. Mythology constitutes nothing other than this. Mythology was succeeded by the mysteries, which function as the darkened veil, divested of its adornments, alluding increasingly to the visage of shadow delineated by the great Rabbi Simeon. Yet, all this reverts to the primordial imagery, such that the pages we herein translate and analyze appear to constitute the genesis of all symbolisms and the fundamental principle of all dogmas. Nothing is as exquisite nor as heartening as this explication afforded to certain biblical images, which depict God as wrathful, repentant, or mutable, after the fashion of men. Such effective conduct, Simeon ben Jokai would aver, pertains exclusively to the face of shadow. It is the looking-glass of human passion. The face of light remains perpetually tranquil and radiant. Yet God, possessing no countenance, abides immutably above this duality of light and shadow. The individual who seeks the divine discovers only the ideal of man. For how might the finite conceive of the infinite? The common man requires a deity who bears resemblance to himself. Were the master not to exhibit wrath when men commit iniquity, they would surmise that evil passes unpunished, and would thus remain unrestrained in their wickedness. Were the master not harsh, severe, mysterious, and arduous to satisfy or comprehend, they would readily succumb to indifference and indolence. A recalcitrant childhood necessitates the rod, and the father must possess the capacity to feign ire, even whilst he may desire to smile at the mischief of his progeny. Thus, in accordance with our ancient masters, the image of divinity possesses two visages. one which surveys the transgressions of man and grows wrathful, and the other which contemplates eternal justice and smiles. This mystery of higher initiation was known even unto the Greeks, who occasionally ascribed the attributes of Jupiter to Pluto. Egypt offered supplications to the Black Serapis. Do you want access to this and all the complete audiobooks on the channel, plus the ebook version? Click the link in the description or scan the QR code in the left corner of the screen to access our library, where you can listen to your favorite esoteric books without ad interruptions, lock your screen, or use other apps while the narration plays, and even download the ebook version to follow along as you listen. Listen on your computer via web browser, or download the app from the Play Store. After subscribing, you will receive an email with your login details, password, and step-by-step instructions on how to access the books through the Hotmart app.